Hi, this is Captain Adam from Reel to Reel Outdoors. Thanks for tuning in to Captain's Roundtable. We have some great captains with us today, and we also have a live audience, which is kind of a new thing that we're starting with the Captain's Roundtable. If you'd like more information about being part of that audience, get a hold of Captain Chuck's in Ludington, right there, and we'll be happy to get you signed up for the next one and let you know when it is. So before we get started, we got to thank some awesome sponsors, Captain Chuck's 2 in Ludington, Michigan, and Ludington Beverage. So let's meet those captains.
Hi, I'm Captain Dave Ellis from Salmon Slayer Sport Fishing Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Captain Micah Schmidt, Hiatus Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
And I'm Captain Kevin Pomorski, Feedin' Time Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
All right, once again, welcome to Captain's Roundtable. Today's question, what are your absolute must-have rotator fly combinations? This segment is brought to you by Cutwater Vodka Soda. You got to try this stuff out. Cocktail in a can. Absolutely fantastic. But thank them for sponsoring this episode. So here we go. I think the wisest of us, or the eldest, or I don't know how you want to. Eldest, okay.
Greatest.
All right. Davey's going to kick it off for us.
All right. Well, these are the ones I typically like to start with in the morning. This big Dreamweaver black paddle, slick glow, with a pickled sunshine fly, and it does have a fairly long lead on it, and I'll stretch it out behind the boat 70, 80 feet before I snap it into the rigger and send it down. It's usually going to be my deepest rig in the morning when I'm salmon fishing. And that will ride until, typically till like an hour after it gets light. And then I'll pull it and put down something different, maybe a white paddle. And then on the divers, if I'm not running a meat rig, I usually start with one of these Kevin's Girlfriend with a pickled sunshine. This here being Mountain Dew, white Mountain Dew blade with a pickled sunshine. And a Chrome Killer.
What fly?
Also with a pickled sunshine.
What's your favorite fly?
My favorite fly is definitely the pickled sunshine. I do sometimes like the blue fairways also, but which also glows, but in the blue hue. But on the divers, or if I'm running deep rigs, I may have a black blade too, like on a 300 copper, 400 copper, something, an 8 or a 10 inch, something way down deep, first thing in the morning. Those are usually my go-to flash your fly combos, and I got literally hundreds and hundreds in my boat. So,
yeah, that's a good selection. I think I'm the next wisest in this group, or eldest, whatever you want to say. So, obviously, the rigs that he just talked about are rigs that I would absolutely run. So I'm going to continue on that. One that I think is a staple, especially first thing in the morning, just about for any of us, is white slick. It's going to be white blades, slick tape on both sides. It's slick glow or something like that, they call it. Double pearl is what they call it. And Dreamweaver, that's probably going to have, believe it or not, a pickled sunshine on it. If it didn't have a pickled sunshine, which would be very rare, I would run a Mirage fly on it, usually a glow Mirage first thing, and then some other variation of a Mirage fly later. I do like it in a glow blade with a glow Mirage fly. That has its moments. Usually that's on a diver, usually a deep diver for me. But there's, like with Mike and I, this is probably on somebody's diver every day, with either a pickled sunshine or a pickled sunshine meat rig. And it's basically every morning somebody's running it. Could even be on on a shoot rigger if a shoot rigger dies on us. I couldn't find one, so I grabbed the black one. But pretty much everybody's running a paddle first thing. Usually it's on our chute. If you don't have a chute, it would be on your deep out and down, whichever, or corner if you're running 4 riggers. I would probably start with the white, but the green blade with either crush or slick tape is another one that is in our rotation, and that would probably have pickled sunshine on that as well. Dragon Slayer is a new one, really. Past probably couple years it's been around. We run this quite often on a long line. Not necessarily first thing in the morning, but it can work first thing in the morning. Usually has a pickled sunshine on it or some variation of that. And then I like the blue bubble. It's blue bubble. It's usually blue bubble and then it's double pearl glow on the back, or pearl glow on the back. That's usually going to have either a blue bubble glow or a blue fairways glow fly on it. And that's pretty common to see all the way into July. I would say once the thermal really starts to push down to that 60, 70 foot, you're going to see less of the blue bubble in the rotation. But when the thermal's up higher, or when you don't have that massive difference, when the surface is 60 to 65 degrees and then your thermal's 50, 60 foot down, blue bubble's really a great combination for us. So yeah.
All right, I guess I'm next. I guess the third choice for paddle here, this is the White Crush, both sides. This is on the chute. First thing in the morning, pickled sunshine fly. I'll sometimes run it on a low diver as well, but it's going to be on, depending on the day and what we're confident in. I mean, if we don't get a bite, for a couple days, we're going to switch to the black or to the white slick, or I'm going to talk about some green scales here in a second, but always going to be the deepest rod, and it's going to ride. We're going to have a paddle on it most of the day. I believe it's a nice attractor to bring fish into our spread. So usually going to be a big paddle down the chute. The green scale, White Crush, pickled sunshine. This has been a good one. Run it on a high diver, run it on a low diver, I run a 275 copper on my side. I'll either have this. He's going to speak about the Kevin's Girlfriend here in a second. That's a staple on my 275 almost the start of every day, unless if it's a 8-inch white slick with a pickled sunshine. And then the green scale black. Black, if it's going, this is going to be a go-to, and I might have a black paddle on my low diver. It's just going to be one of those confident things. We fish every day. If black's going, it's going to run. But one of the things I found with black is sometimes it takes one fish. It's one and done. And It's sometimes hard to put it back in the water, but you do, and then you ended up pulling it. But wish I had the confidence just to catch one and change it, but usually doesn't happen that way. So,
all right, well, I guess I'll do Kevin's Girlfriend.
Your name.
That's
maybe you should tell the story behind Kevin's Girlfriend.
Well, it's a pretty extensive story. Well, another guy actually made it.
Yeah.
And I was fishing with George at the time, and George walked into Capt to Dreamweaver, and he was looking for stuff. It was right before tournament time. He wanted the hot stuff, and the guy was standing in the corner making this. He kind of looked over his shoulder and asked him about it, made a couple up and brought them on. Well, obviously they were really good. And so I was running, like my whole side. That's what it was, Kevin's Girlfriend. The whole side of the boat. Everything had it. Not everything, but almost. And it was catching fish. Every rod you put it on, it caught fish. Didn't matter, meat rig, fly, whatever. I mean, several different meat rigs. You could pickle rig, pickle sunshine fly, liquid sunshine fly,
green
mirage flies, green Mirage fly. I mean, just you could run a lot of different flies behind it. And I was running it, and Adam or Sean or pretty much anybody that called me, they're like, "Hey, how you doing? What you catching them on?" And every time Kevin's girlfriend on this, or it wasn't that then. It was, I just said the green with the blue tape, green flasher, blue tape, blue icicle tape. And after a while, Sean started saying, "Oh, you caught on your girlfriend." I'm like, "Huh?" And he goes, "Well, that's what's on every one of your rod. I'm pretty sure you're sleeping with it in the bow of the boat every night." and that's kind of stuck, and it went. That's how everybody.
Yeah. Kevin never had a girlfriend until Kevin's girlfriend.
But anyway, this one with the Kevin's girlfriend with a pickle rig or a pickled sunshine fly or a green mirage fly, very good. I'll do, let's see, this white crush, black dot with pickled sunshine fly. I like to run the Kevin's girlfriend I just told you, run on anything. I mean, it's good on coppers, cores, everything. But this one I like to run it more on like a low wire. It's really good on a high wire too. Either one. I like to run on a diver. Shoot rigger. I'll run on a shoot rigger at times, but mainly pickle or liquid sunshine fly. Then you already did I was going to do the blue bubble. It was already done, but blue bubble with the slick tape on the back. I like that with the blue fairways fly or blue bubble glow. And then I would probably run that most of the time either on a high wire or like a 200 copper, 300 copper, something like that. And I have a black paddle here, black crush paddle. Same thing, pickle or liquid sunshine fly, green mirage fly. Once again, behind that. A lot of times I'll run that either on a low wire. I will put it on a shoot rigger at times, probably most of the time. But every once in a while, I hate pulling it in, but I'll run it on a really long copper. 450, 500, 600 copper.
It's a good like father-in-law rig.
Yeah. But that would be my 4. I think I did 4 there.
Yeah.
Kind of got me sidetracked with the whole storyline here.
Well, I think I think it's a story that needed to be told.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we have a live audience here, so we're going to open it up. Maybe take a couple questions from those guys, and see if they have anything for us here. So anybody got a question?
My question would be, you discussed the rotators and paddles. Leader length, as far as what's kind of a standard for a rotator and or for a paddle. And then the second question I'd have on that would be, does it make a difference on that rotator where you're hooking that leader?
I would say on your question, the paddle with the bigger paddle, I would run a 52-inch leader from the flasher to the fly. That's the only one I know inch-wise on like the exact length. With a 10-inch spin doctor, what I do is I stand up, I put my arm to my side, I hook the hook on my finger, and I bring the line up to my chin. That's what I do.
So 2 feet.
I'm not that. I'm taller than you. And then with and I mean, unless you're a lot taller or a lot shorter, I mean, it's generally the same within an inch or so, I bet. and between people. And then on an 8-inch flasher, I do the same thing. I hook the hook on the tip of my finger, point my hand down, and then I bring it up to the top of my shoulder right here. And that's just, I started doing that.
Were you the same height when you started?
Oh, my arms were always the same length.
Okay.
No, I started doing that because it was a really easy, quick way to measure it out and get a fly back in the water or a lure back in the water after, say, you have to retie it, tangle. It's a really quick way to get it back in the water and get fish, back in. But
And his days,
yeah,
it is pretty much right there. So
I could
say
even
2.5 times the rotator or something like that.
But once we measured it out and found what worked best, that was really pretty much the same measurement as from the tip of your finger. You hook the hook on there, and then you bring it up to your shoulder for an 8-inch, top of your shoulder, and then bring it over to your chin for a 10. I now take one of Dave's just for reference.
You want to show the?
Oh, they probably are sharp. They haven't caught many, have they?
No, not too many. Yeah.
Red hook with no paint left.
But that's, generally speaking, if you pointed your finger down and did that, that's what I do. I don't go by actual measurements with the 8 and 10-inch flashers. The only one I actually measure is the paddle, and that's 52.
Yeah. So the second part of the question was there's multiple holes on a spin doctor. You have 2 holes in the front, and then you have 1 on each side. I always run fin side front hole. That's just it'd be hard for me to run it any differently. But I know guys that run it on the other side, and I think it's supposed to slow the action of the fly down. I would say if you caught a fish that was on this and you brought it in and it was hooked in a hole that you're not normally hooked in, if it just caught a fish, put it back out. But if I was going to start out, I'm almost always fin side and front hole. You guys are probably the same?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So good question. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah.
When you're running paddles, is there a certain time you would run an 8-inch over a 10-inch or vice versa? Water depth, clarity, anything like that?
That's a great question. When it comes to choosing what size paddle or what size spin doctor, generally speaking, the big paddle, I'm going to choose the big one over the small one just about every time, especially on the shoot. Sometimes I'll change to a smaller one later in the day, or if I caught Albert Loxonen 10 years ago meleeing fish on the boat next to me, and I had the binoculars on him, and he had little white paddles on every rigger. I switched over to little white paddles in a hurry and started catching fish. But I'll put the little white paddles on long lines. Kevin mentioned earlier about reeling one of these in on a 400 copper, 450 copper, 500. I'm not doing it. Not even going to try it unless if he calls me and says that he's catching fish on it, I might do it. In terms of the 8-inch spin doctor versus the 10, I normally will choose just based on the speed. If I'm trolling at 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, I'm getting bit with spoons in my spread, I'm going to run the smaller rotators. Just because I think that the action is a little bit more tolerant with that speed. But if we're slow rolling it down our bank, I'm going to have big stuff out. I'm going to have the 10-inch rotators on high diver, low diver, my shoot riggers, it's going to have the big paddle. And then I'm even willing to put them on my long lines. And again, I don't like tugging on these on my long lines. I don't like watching my customers tug on them. I just sort of feel a little bit bad for them. So if I can get away with the 8-inch, I'm going to run the smaller ones just about, the majority of the time.
I'm feeling the same way. It's got a lot to do with the speed. If I'm not pulling spoons and I'm running all rotators, which I like to do a lot of times when there's a lot of kings around. I'll have I'll usually have a couple of the big ones, the bigger 10-inch spin doctors on my low divers, and I may have one on my shoot rigger. My out downs will have the 8s. My high divers will have the 8s. And if if one size or another starts showing that it's doing better, then I may refine my spread a little to get more bigger ones or pull the bigger ones and put more smaller ones out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, if you're going faster, the smaller ones seem to produce better. With trout fishing, I think that we run our 8-inch rotators until we get to about 80, 90 feet, and then we'll start introducing 10s. And I would say you'd probably be hard-pressed to see a trout rig down with less than a 10-inch rotator once we get to, 140, 150 and deeper. So it kind of crosses over there as far as the depth. It's a lot more flash in a larger rotator. And then they do have the Bigfoots as well, and sometimes running those way down deep is a good way to go as well.
I would say, I wouldn't call it a rule of thumb by any means, because you run a lot of meat rigs on an 8-inch spin doctor. But I feel, especially starting off, you start off with a lot more meat rigs on a 10-inch.
Yeah.
At least I do. Like, I run a lot of meat rigs on 8-inch, but I think I run more meat rigs on a 10-inch than on an 8-inch.
And we got an episode coming up that we'll hammer on that meat rig thing a little bit more. So once again, thank you to Cutwater. Vodka sodas. I have the grapefruit, and I have to say this is pretty good. But check them out. Thanks for the sponsorship. Capt and Chucks, always thank you for helping us out. And, thanks for our live audience and some great questions. And we hope to see you guys again next week.